Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to No Point Gaming. Once again, I'm your host, as always, Blindstone, and today we're going to take a look at Battlefield 1, the single-player campaign. Developed by DICE and published by EA Games using the Frostbite 3 engine once again, similar to Battlefield 4. Battlefield 1 is actually the 11th installment in the Battlefield series and has some major hype since the reveal trailer, in case you didn't already know. Today we're going to look into single player, and we'll touch on the multiplayer sometime in the future, but as always first, let's dive into some settings, shall we? First up is controls. We have two different mouse sensitivities. One for while you're on foot, and one while you are in control of a vehicle. Which is awesome to see, actually. Standard inverse controls, as well as various options for changing whether an action is click or hold states. Very good. You can also set up different control schemes for what looks like the controller usage. With that said, if you're playing on PC, why the hell would you be using a controller? Seriously. Up next is gameplay settings. A lot of this basically comes down to how you want your game to display information to you, such as crosshair color, kill logs, vehicle seat info, hit indicators, and HUD. No need to really go through it. It is very standard and comes down to personal preferences. Onto audio, fairly standard setup. We have the master volume and music volume controls, options for surround and stereo, and my favorite since they started implementing it, the sound presets. If you've never played a Battlefield game with the war tapes, you need to right now. It is absolutely amazing. Voice options for announcer and teammates. Kind of nice that you can set the preset bits of dialogue to English regardless of the team. More for multiplayer, but it's nice because I usually can't understand what the hell they're even saying. And of course, VoIP settings if you want to hear your team members call you trash in multiplayer, and subtitles, which are standard nowadays. Last bit we're going to cover is the graphic settings. Most of this is fairly standard nowadays with AAA titles, but here we go anyways. You have your full screen, you have your resolution, you have which monitor to display the game on as well, in case you have multiple monitors. VSync, of course, to prevent screen tearing and brightness. Field of view for first person and vehicle usage as well. Options to change whether or not the field of view when using your iron sights, which is nice to actually see. And the glorious overused motion blur. At least it is a slider that we can tone down a bit. I feel it's always cranked up way too high nowadays on any kind of AAA title to give it that so-called cinematic effect. And also have colorblind mode for those who require it. Last settings menu is key bindings, but that stuff should be fairly similar with, I'm going to say, 95% of the games out there nowadays. So I'm not going to cover it. Most you need to know is you can change key bindings for pretty much every situation you will be on, whether you're on foot, vehicle, stationary gun, and what have you not. With that out of the way, let's talk campaign, shall we? The single player campaign is actually 5 stories with 5 different protagonists. Each story, as they are called, has so many chapters to complete. There's the prologue, which is short and kind of interesting, and seems to be the best sense of scale for war. Storm of Steel is probably best described as multiple stories of death in one, to give you that illusion of what soldiers went through during World War I. Which is what happens. You control one character after another to give you an idea of what war is. After each death, it tells you that character's name, birth year, and death year. When you die as a character, you are moved on to start controlling another character in a different situation rather. Each character is being overrun by enemies who eventually win. The ending of the prologue was probably the most real-hitting moment in the entire campaign. Without giving too many spoilers, even though it is the start of the game, it has an overhead view with an allied and an enemy in a standoff, while bodies, mud, blood are all around. It made it very, very clear that this was war. So, I guess technically there are 6 stories, but the prologue I'm not counting in the actual war stories count. So the first real story is Through Mud and Blood, a story about Edwards, a young man who used to drive those whom had money around, and is now the driver of Black Bess, a Mark V tank set in 1918 during the Battle of Cambria. After you meet the crew and all hop inside Black Bess, you are given the orders to provide support for the advancing infantry soldiers. I started getting a little concerned when I realized what we had to do was capture points similar to Conquest and multiplayer in pretty much any Battlefield game. Actually, I think all Battlefield games. The story takes you through various areas in the tank and on foot. Lots of field cannons that shoot and take out tanks must be dealt with before continuing on, which seems to be mostly marked for you anyways and doesn't pose much of a problem at all unless you stand there with your thumb up your ass. Enemies don't seem to pose any sort of real threat when you're in the tank. They just kind of shoot at you with machine guns and don't usually use anti-tank grenades, which they do have because you do see the odd one get tossed the odd time. The other enemies' tanks that move in on you are easy to take down. Even when you're hit, you can easily repair from right within the vehicle. All it takes is driving behind a corner and holding a button for X amount of time. The moments on foot, you're given two ways of approaching a situation. Go in loud, guns blazing, or quiet and sneak around. Sneaking isn't a challenge at all though. However, it is actually pretty tedious. Once you mark a guard as spotted, they will remain spotted until killed. It even gives silhouettes when they are behind a wall. I would have rathered the requirement to listen to incoming enemies by noise and properly scouting out the area. I mean, this is no difficulty if you know where everyone is all the time. There's a moment when fog rolls in, you're required to stop being the driver and walk in front of the tank to guide it through the fog. Why did they even hire a driver if they're just going to end up walking? I mean, someone else of the crew that you still have should be the ones guiding the tank. I would think. Oh well. Scout ahead, take out camps without much noise, which even if you did make noise, then the tank comes in, blows up everything anyways, so what's the point? You might as well just go in guns blazing and let the tank move ahead while you got it. This happens about 4 times until you reach the destination, and it's only one after another. By the time I finished the second one, I was bored and just wanted it over with. I mean, it was boring. The AI is so very, very stupid in this too. Most of the time I was able to run up and melee them before they even detect me. Even when another enemy was beside the guy I just murdered, all he got was suspicious. Wake up, buddy. He doesn't have a sliced neck from natural causes. I mean, come on. Moving on. For story-wise, it was your typical move in, push forward as we are the tank of all tanks. However, it didn't give me a hell of a lot of reason to get cozy with the crew members, or time for that fact. Story was neat, but gameplay just being another go from here to here, clearing an area, was boring. That's all I have to say on that. On to story 2. Friends in high places. You assume the role of a pilot/gambler, as he describes himself, named Clyde Blackburn. The story starts off with Clyde stealing a plane after losing a wager in a poker game. You are immediately tossed into a plane who has a gunner named Wilson. Wilson explains that this is a training mission, and you are to follow your allied ace in the sky. This is more meant to be on a tutorial, I guess, on how to fly planes rather than actual gameplay. It moves quickly into how to shoot from planes and into the different weapons that you have available to you on the plane. But of course, Germans find you in your area, who'd have thunk? And you are on a mission to gun them down. Once one enemy remains, you end up chasing him into enemy territory and somehow survive after several bullets in a cinematic. Clyde comes off as a rich boy looking for cheap thrills more than someone who is in a war fighting for his life. Later on, you're on a mission to take out anti-aircraft weapons from a plane. What the hell is that? I feel the infantry should be the ones taking out the AA weaponry instead of the vulnerable target that it's made for in the first place. The story is narrated by himself, which comes in every once in a while and reminds you that this is his story. Eventually, you are shot down once again. You have to do a silly sneaking task around to get back to Allied lines. It was slightly interesting because you are sneaking from the German lines into the British lines, and the way that they did it, it was very, very, I don't know, it's kind of neat because you got to worry about your own Allied friends shooting back at you because they are just on order at nighttime, piss poor rain. They're going to shoot at anything that they see. So you got to watch out for spotlights and stuff. I mean, it's interesting. Boring, once again, but interesting. Story is fine, but gameplay is drawn out, doing the same repetitive thing in different ways. No sense of teamwork, and just more super soldier feeling once again. Story 3 is called Avanti Saboya. I probably butchered the name almost as much as this part of the campaign actually butchered itself. I mean, it's a 2-mission campaign that is being told by the protagonist, whose name I'm not even going to attempt to say, but we might as well just call him friggin' Iron Man. A volunteer for the Italian Arditi, who tells the story to his daughter about a lost friend. Again, this story brings no attachment to any of the characters and brings more of the super soldier bullshit. Honestly, this mission bothered me more than it really should have. At first I was shocked that part of my screen had been obstructed, and the reason actually being is I was wearing a full thick steel armor set that is apparently indestructible. Wearing a heavy ass suit, wielding a heavy ass machine gun that looks like it should be mounted, walking and sprinting up a mountain with bullets bouncing off his chest plate, without any care in the world, and eventually taking a full plane crashing right into him and still being alive. Come on. I personally didn't care. I mean, as you never see the friend till the end for about a minute, maybe. Most of that minute was narration saying that he almost gave up looking for him and all this crap. I'm sorry. From the Iron Man shitstorm to the story's main plot being about this guy we don't see till the end is garbage. I want to care about the characters. I want to feel in danger. I want to feel that stress and the pressure. That is what we were told about Battlefield 1 single player, and the most we have so far is Black Bess breaking down in the first story. God. Enough of that. Story 4, The Runner. The Runner starts off on a ship waiting for the command to storm the beaches of Gallipoli. You play as Frederick Bishop, an Australian man who apparently is famous in the war for reasons they don't really talk about. It starts off with a new recruit who lied about his age to join the war to meet Bishop, your character, and just so happens to be assigned to Bishop as well. You want nothing to do with him and even request that he is reposted elsewhere, and it ends up going out of the way to be something of a father figure to him by the end. It didn't... Okay. This story is very ground heavy, which is nice. You're mostly on foot, as you only enter a vehicle. Ride a horse for about half a minute, as you warn other members of the infantry about an incoming artillery attack from the British that they forgot to tell you was actually going to happen. Which, you know what, I can honestly believe that this kind of scenario actually happened quite a bit. That's disregarding the last story, but again, Iron Man, walking tank syndrome. But as for the plot, there isn't much one aside from keeping this kid out of trouble while being the front man. Eventually it ends up with you taking on an entire fort without any kind of backup, which leads you to another super soldier feeling. Oh god, I feel like we touched on this before. Story 5, Nothing is Written. This campaign is broken into 3 missions and is told by Lawrence of Arabia. You play as the protagonist Zara as you join Lawrence and his rebels to fight off the Ottoman Empire. This seemed to have the better of the gameplay mechanics as it leads you trying to be stealthy as you took on the role of Zara. After all, they are used to using ambushing techniques through the sand, kill the enemy and retreat without the enemy actually knowing they were there. Story-wise, there isn't really that much there portrayed. You start off by sneaking up on a derailed train that has a book full of translation and codes to communicate with the bigger, deadlier trains so they can protect their land and resources such as oil. Or changes nothing really. I think we're still doing that today. However, a few objectives complete and a couple encounters with a smug antagonist who really doesn't like you, you head on to end things with an assault on the deadlier train. Also, the Oling story where you don't completely feel like a super soldier. However, there are some missions you fly solo on. So let's wrap this up a bit, shall we? First, what's good? I know many people don't like the massive amount of cinematics, however, I think it works. I didn't find them too inconvenient and for the most part enjoyable. They did take a lot of inspiration from real events, which is nice to see and very often not heard about. In the end, it is a game that is set to the theme of World War I, and therefore cannot be historically accurate and have it fun at the same time. Splitting it up into different chapters so you spend a bit of time in different scenarios I think was a really great idea. They said they wanted to show the variety of war that actually happened, which is what they did. I mean, they covered it pretty much. Most people only know about trench warfare, and that's not the case. Gunplay was nice, and the requirement to pick up different guns due to having no more ammo was also good as well. It forced you to try new things and break that comfort zone a tiny bit. Graphics are freaking stunning. I'm not gonna lie that this game looks beautiful, because it flat out does. Maybe one too many particle effects that it sometimes looks like a glitter bomb went off, but it works. So what's the bad? I understand the gameplay needs to be linear, but I mean, come on. Every land you play on felt small aside from friends in high places where you fly a plane. I mean, it kinda has to be large at that point. Nothing is more irritating than wanting to take a wider approach to a situation being told that you are leaving combat zone. I get that you have to limit some way, but god damn it felt tiny. No sense of scale. I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here because it was present in every single story. But the super soldier hero aspect where you're placed as the only one who can save everyone and is utterly annoying. I was really hoping for this to be more squad oriented, where it's no secret the AI in any Battlefield game is about as smart as a rock. But I mean, come on. Have a squad, teammates, anything that made you feel like a smaller cog to give some sense of danger and realism. Have a squad mate be in charge of healing everyone instead of regenerating health. Have a support member of the team helping with ammo. However, see, this kind of contradicts my previous point of picking up multiple weapons and forcing you to break that comfort zone a little bit. But it works both ways. Set up battle maps or something where we can strategize and send squad members out to help flank or cause distractions. The super soldier shit is mindless and it ruins immersion like no other. World War I was the war that changed how fighting was. It was about strategy, not invincible regenning superhumans. Maybe this is just me, but I'm tired of shooters being like, this is about the main protagonist. It's overdone! It ruins the fear and sense of danger because it's been so overdone. I don't want that feeling that I'm in a small area and to do this. I want a big area and be told, hey, this is what has to be done. Find out a way to do it. We aren't going to pest you any more than that. Stop handing us the damn solution because you like scripted events. Hell, you can still do that with scripted events. I honestly felt more entertained by the damn cinematics than I was playing the game. Enough of that ranting. Characters in the story could have been much better from a narrative standpoint. You don't really engage with them, which leads you to not really caring for them either. If you're trying to create immersion or an emotional story, you need to have some sort of relatability to those around you. That way, if someone does die, you feel that little clench inside you. You don't get that with this. I mean, the first story, someone died within like the first 10 minutes, and it's like, oh, okay. Well, that sucks. Thanks for the weapon. Hee hee. Only other issue I really have is that the stories all take place in the same year roughly. 1917 and 1918. The runner did take place in 1915, however. I think it could have been benefited a lot by showing the actual technology advancements that war brought to life. I mean, tanks were introduced in the first damn story. And the first story is about a tank driver. Where was that sense of fear and screams? Oh shit! What the hell is that? I'm not a voice actor, good thing. But maybe I'm just being picky now. Might as well complain about not getting trench foot at this point. So as a final thought, I mean, it was okay. Boring at times. They had a massive theme that hasn't been touched by games, really. And they went small. They could have gone much larger, which is disappointing. It is short and suffers the same fate as most modern day shooters have. Small areas and scripted events plastered everywhere instead of letting you do you. Super Soldier stuff is crap in the end. The stories didn't leave me wanting to play more. It should have. Watch the cinematics and the actual story? Yeah, sure thing. The gameplay fell flat. AI is dumber than the rocks and pose no real threat. Just, let's be fair here. Probably still the best Battlefield single player to date? But that's not saying much. Battlefield is not known for their single player campaigns. They are usually shit. Stick to the multiplayer. It's fun. That's all I have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I am Blindstone, and this has been No Point Gaming. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. And if you like what we do, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching.